Hey guys, it's Alpha Jackal here, and this is a new type of video for us. It's been some time since the World Championships, and we thought, hey, with the summer plan upcoming, it's halfway through the season, and we thought, might as well give you an update on how we feel the team is doing, how the team is done, and where the team is going to go here. So it's just going to be a bit of an update to show you where the team has been since Worlds, and how we've improved and how we've changed since then. So I do hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you all so much for your continued support and continued appreciation for the team. We all love you, each individually, as much as love. So, where do we start from here? Let's use the team as a whole. Do the team dynamic as a whole. At Worlds, as you saw, we were just a bunch of goofy idiots who looked like they could win Worlds. And probably should have done. Now, we're still a bunch of goofy idiots that look like we can win. Nothing's really changed in the team dynamic. There's not too much to say. Individually is where you'll see the biggest changes. I don't know if it's any more apparent than with Deathwalker. Going into Season 4 Worlds, he was the superstar of the team. He was the one player that rivaled Benji as the best player in the world. Maybe Adapting was involved in that conversation. But I think Deathwalker proved that he was a slight cut above Benji. We didn't end up getting the win. Benji did have a phenomenal tournament, and this is no disrespect to him. I just felt like Deathwalker had a better tournament than him. And I don't think it was any more apparent by the solo kill, which Deathwalker managed to get over Benji in that final game. Yes, it was a counter matchup in favor of Deathwalker, but Benji did have multiple good matchups in his favor, and he didn't manage to do the same thing to Deathwalker. So, in my opinion, he just had a much better tournament, but that's in the past. Looking forward, what we do see now is that it's no longer all about him. It's no longer the one-dimensional strategy of let's get Deathwalker ahead, and if that doesn't work, we're just going to brawl for 17 minutes, see each team have 25 kills, and go from there. Now, Deathwalker's more than happy to take that losing matchup. He's more than happy to lose a few blue buffs. He's more than happy to fall a bit behind his enemy solo laner, because he knows that his god's going to be more impactful in the late game stages. He knows that his god is more useful in that team fight. If he just doesn't let the enemy solo laner snowball, he's perfectly fine with that. That's something different from what we saw to him at Worlds. And if I was an enemy solo laner, if I was an enemy coach, and I saw this Deathwalker now who's got this new dynamic to him, and I saw the Deathwalker at Worlds who either got fed and did everything, or didn't get fed and did very little, I would much rather face that one. Even though mentally he looked better, even though statistically he probably looked a bit better, he was the linchpin of the team, and he was the one that you could target shut down, which would then in turn shut down rival. Nowadays, you can't do that. If you're ganking Deathwalker all the time, that's fine by us. That's something we sometimes even count on. Maybe giving away a tiny bit too much, but we'll see. Ice Baby. Ooh. Yeah, I'm struggling to think of how Ice Baby has differentiated himself from Worlds. Because his playstyle wasn't changed so much by his own will, it was changed more about the map. See, back in Season 4, the map was open enough for you to invade speed buff, was open enough for you to invade back RPs all the time. It was risky to do so, not all of the junglers did it, but he decided to try and do this, decided to constantly go into the back RPs. He did get punished for it, again, in Game 1 of Worlds. And again, that's looking into the past. Looking to the present, and looking even into the future, you see, again, an evolution of his playstyle. See him, again, look more towards the team as a whole. He's more worried about the team as a whole getting farm, getting ahead. He's, again, more than happy to sacrifice farm himself, fall behind a tiny bit, because he knows that he isn't going to be the... He knows he isn't going to be the focal points of the game every single time. If he is going to be that focal point of the game, he knows what he has to do. He knows that he has to get farm himself, he knows that he has to get himself ahead, he has to look for those aggressive plays, those aggressive invades, and play on the front foot. But he's more than happy to play reservedly, he's more than happy to play on that back foot as well, if it helps the team. That brings us on to Wolfie, who's pretty much gone in the opposite direction. You have a look back at Worlds, and he was fine falling a bit behind. He was fine going 0-3 if it meant that the rest of the team was getting ahead. Now you have a look at him in scrims, you have a look at him on stream, you have a look at him during the LAN. He is just trying to get every bit of farm as possible. He's trying to take everything. He's playing incredibly aggressively, playing in the enemy bases, because he knows he can. He knows when to play aggressive, he knows when to play reserved, he knows when to push his lead, push his advantage, he knows which gods to pick in which scenario, he knows when to go in, he knows when to back off. He's become a lot more self-aware, I would say, is the best way to describe it. He's become a lot more aware of his own limitations, a lot more aware of his own playstyle's limit. And he's adapted his playstyle to the Season 5 map to best suit him, and best suit the team. Picked up these more mobile gods, these more farm-centric gods. He's picking up gods like Janus, like Ra, like Poseidon, gods that can rotate to farm more easily. Gods that can farm up quicker. He's picking those gods because he wants to be ahead of the enemy mid laner. He wants to be ahead of the game. He wants to be the focal point of the game. And you saw that in the Spring Split. The Spring Split, pretty much every single game was about Wolfie. It was about his Ra, it was about his Janus, it was about his Poseidon. It was about his Isis when he brought it out for one game or two. About his Toth when he managed to get his hands on it, back when Toth was broken. It was all about him in that Spring Split. And it almost came undone during Spring LAN. Because that sort of strategy does work if your other lanes don't fall too far behind. And against Dignitas in Winners Finals, in that set, that strategy came undone because every single lane fell behind, and Wolfie wasn't able to get that farm, wasn't able to get ahead, and wasn't able to influence the game like he usually did. In that grand final, where we ended up winning 4-3, we went back to what we did at Super Regionals in Season 4. We went back to what we did during World Championships, which was we played as one unit, played as a team, rather than as 5 individuals striving to get ahead themselves and then influence the game and play around that. We went back to focusing on objectives, focusing on the small thing. And Wolfie embodied that the most. I feel Wolfie's playstyle, you've seen evolve twice throughout this year. The first one in the Spring Split was, I'm the person on this team who's going to be the superstar. I am going to be the focal point of this game. Oh, we're all behind, I can't do anything now. To, well, I would like to be ahead, and I'm going to try and get ahead. But if the team needs me to help out elsewhere, I'm more than happy to do so. Kalas, how has he changed? I mean, if look at him as a person, he's still the same jolly dragon that you've always known. Still that same lovable guy. On Battlefield and in the game, he's stepped up his leadership qualities to a new level. He's still that same leader that we've always had in the team. He's just become a more vocal and more apparent one. We've expanded his god pool yet again because a lot of teams seem to realize that Kalas is the focal point from most of our games. They seem to realize that he is the heart and soul of the team at times. A lot of people are going, that's poor shit, it's Deathwalker and Z4, or oh shit, it's Wolfie back in Spring, oh shit, it's Ice this split. In actuality, it has been a combination of everyone. It's hard to describe exactly how different the team is now. It's hard to describe exactly what's changed. It's hard to put into words how different, but how similar the team is now from where it was at Worlds. Because, truth be told, there isn't anything that has changed. The goal at Season 4 and the goal for Season 5 are exactly the same. Win the World Championship. The hunger from Season 4 to Season 5 is exactly the same. The mental strength, the togetherness, stronger than it's ever been. And that really is what is represented by Kalas. He is the team. That's what to say he puts all of us on his back and carries us. He is the physical embodiment of what it is to be a rival. He is the person that best expresses who we are as a team, who we are as individuals. Happy, carefree, serious when needed. That's Not changed. Not changed from Worlds. Not changed from when I first joined the team. Not changed from when I first met him. How his playstyle's changed? It hasn't. Him and Vote always still look to try and push up aggressively. They still try and look for that advantage in lane. They still try and look for those early pushes, early invade to get that snow. Because that's what Smite's always demanded of the dual lane. It's always said and wanted dual lane to be aggressive, to be snowball oriented, to be push oriented at heart. The team playing, the synergy between Vote and Kalas is always getting stronger. It's getting more apparent day by day. It's getting almost to the point where they could do scrims without comms and they would know exactly what each other are doing. And to have that sort of cohesion, that sort of mentality in the dual lane is unheard of. I think Barracuda and Jeff Hindler or Jermaine and Dardas are the only two other dual lanes I really attribute that to. Put into words how Vote has changed since Worlds. He will tell you himself that the hunter position doesn't matter. That the ADC doesn't matter. He is aggressive yet selfless. He is team-oriented whilst striving to be that star player. That's how he was back in Season 4, and that's how he is now. There's the theme that the dual lane doesn't really change. That's because the dual lane's going to stay the same until sweeping changes come into it, which, just a heads up, this is recorded before the patch notes, so I'm not sure how big the changes are. So this is just, yes, patch notes, but I think 5.13 is going to see the biggest change in dual lane you'll ever see. And you'll see big changes in playstyles, you'll see big changes in the team dynamic going into Season 5's full split. If I have to close out with anything, it's that have a look at the team at Worlds, you have a look at the team now. Nothing's changed. The players may have had a slight change in playstyle, the players may have a slight change in attitude. But overall, we're still the same bunch of lovable idiots. We're still that same team that finished bottom of the SPL in Season 3. That took the league by storm in Season 4. And are continuing to take it by storm in Season 5. We are that same team that can look like they will beat anybody, but also look like they might lose to everybody. We are that team that has potential for greatness. We just have to reach out and grab it. Okay, that's a blooper. We'll love you each individually as much as the last person. What the fuck is that? Oh. Okay, I'm gonna use that. I'd say fuck you.
What are you still doing here? Video's already over. Well, since you're here, we have a couple of other videos you can potentially watch. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe for more great content, and we'll see you in the next video. Hopefully.